Welcome to Amateur Radio's Reflector Magazine by the East Coast Reflector. The Reflector is an all-volunteer-run system and never charges for their magazine or to get on the air, so click subscribe to give us a boost. We also accept donations at eastcoastreflector.com. Volume 16 of the Reflector Magazine, May 2025. Articles featured in this volume: Dick's Corner, The Antenna Farm, Readability Signal Strength, Wireless Microphone, The Stars Repeater, and celebrity call signs Marlon Brando and Joe Rudy. You'll also find information on nets, Zoom room presentations on POTA and our Aeronautical net, user-submitted pictures Aeronautical mobile net, comics, Ask an Elmer how to connect to ECR prayer list silent keys and more. Table of Contents.
Page 4. Dick's Corner by WB2JPQ. The ECR, at its core, the East Coast Reflector ECR, isn't just a system of link repeaters, it's built to connect amateur radio operators across the region and beyond. The ECR thrives on the spirit of friends, family, and good conversation. Whether you've been on the air for decades or just picked up your first HT, we want your voice to be heard. Got ideas, questions, or suggestions? Reach out anytime. For non-urgent matters, you can email wb2jpq@aol.com. ECR Hotline for troubleshooting. We're excited to announce a dedicated ECR hotline for reporting system issues or concerns. 716-427-4142. Use this number to report technical problems, interference, or any urgent ECR-related issues. Monthly Town Hall Meetings. Beginning this month, the ECR is introducing monthly virtual town hall meetings. These meetings are an opportunity for the ECR family to stay informed, share ideas, and ask questions in a casual and welcoming space. Join us the second Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. in the ECR Zoom Room. The Zoom Room is open 24/7 and is also where our presentations are. Go to bit.ly/ECR Daily. See us at Dayton. It's almost time for the Dayton Hamvention, the ultimate gathering of hams, gearheads, and innovators. The ECR will be at this year's event, and we'd love to meet you face-to-face. Stop by our table and say hello. See the map on the following page for our location. POTA Presentation, Kayak Rovers and Island Hopping. May 29th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Zoom. Join Matt K2EAG and Angela N3ARB for an inspiring and informative Parks on the Air POTA presentation. Learn how Matt and Angela won first place in the 2023 W/VE QSO Party roving category by activating 5 islands, all by kayak. Topics include CW Kayak Mobile POTA Techniques, getting started in Parks on the Air, activating the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor during a 10-day special event in September for the Erie Canal Bicentennial. Access the presentation via Zoom, bit.ly/ECR Daily. Stay connected 24/7. ECR isn't just a network, it's a place to hang out. Whether you're checking in, testing gear, or joining a net, it's your front porch in the ham radio world. Visit bit.ly/ECR links for a full list of useful links. See you on the air. As we continue to grow and evolve, we invite all operators, old friends and new, to take part. Whether it's helping with nets, sharing knowledge, or just checking in for a quick QSO, your voice matters here on the ECR. 73. WB2JPQ.
Page 8. Aeronautical Zoom Presentation. Are you an aeronautical fan? Ever wonder how the communication system is set up inside of a plane? Join us May 1st at 7 p.m. in the ECR Zoom Room at bit.ly/ECR Daily as the pilots of our Aeronautical mobile net. Carlos N1CBM and Alex K1AOS show you how it's done and answer your questions. That's May 1st at 7 p.m. in the ECR Zoom Room at bit.ly/ECR Daily. And join the Aeronautical mobile presentation.
Page 9. POTA Presentation. Attention all POTA people. If you're into POTA or just want to check out one of the ECR's upcoming Zoom presentations, then listen up. Get your POTA self in the ECR Zoom Room on May 29th at 7 p.m. to join Matt K2EAG and Angela N3ARB. They'll talk about how they got started in POTA. their experience participating in the 2023 WVQSO party, where they achieved first place in the roving category, how they activated 5 islands all by kayak, as well as recent CW Kayak Mobile POTA activations. They'll also discuss the upcoming 10-day special event in September where clubs across New York State will be activating the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor for the Erie Canal Bicentennial.
Page 10. The new ECR Helpline. The ECR is here to help. We now have a trouble hotline. If you find yourself having connection issues or know of a problem on the system, text or call 746-427-4142. We'll do what we can to help. Page 11. The TechNet. The TechNet is Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern and lasts for about 2.5 hours. Here's the order of the net. First, we share any ECR announcements we may have. Next, we take notices of any silent keys from the ECR. Next, we take check-ins from hams who are new to the net where you can ask your tech-related questions and respond to help answer others' questions. And finally, we take general check-ins by call district. Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. and you can view the log at bit.ly/ECR logs.
Page 12. ECR user submitted pictures.
Page 13. The Antenna Farm, Part 31, the DDRR Antenna. Hello, ECR family, and welcome to the Antenna Farm. This is your friendly antenna farmer, Charles, KC6UFM. As always with the Antenna Farm topics, I welcome any and all feedback from you, the reader. I am almost always monitoring the East Coast Reflector, and my email is on my QRZ page. I am also on the ECR for almost every Tuesday night TechNet, so this will be a great place to ask questions, too. Feel free to reach out to me with any comments or questions. But there's a new and, in my opinion, great place to ask questions about the Antenna Farm or antenna systems in general. Join me, along with other Elmers, in the East Coast Reflector Zoom room on the first and third Thursdays of each month at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Ask an Elmer/Be an Elmer event. This is a chance for all hams, especially those new to the hobby, to ask questions that may be too involved to get answers from the TechNet. I look forward to you joining us and asking your questions. This time in the Antenna Farm, we're taking a look at one of the most unusual antennas for ham radio, the DDRR antenna. The meaning of the acronym DDRR has changed over the years. When originally developed by the Northrop Corporation back in the 1960s, it stood for Directional Discontinuity Ring Radiator. But in more recent times, it has become known as a Directly Driven Ring Radiator. Northrop's goal with the DDRR was to create a physically small, reasonably efficient antenna for the HF bands for use aboard ships. With due considerations of a few factors we'll look at a little later, the design is a success. It's possible to build an antenna for 7 MHz that will fit into a circle less than 10 feet in diameter that will radiate just as well as a full-size dipole. In a manufacturing setting, a DDRR is relatively easy to build, but there are some issues for the average ham. In most cases, building a DDRR will require some special skills and equipment that most hams won't have available. While this is not 100% true, building a DDRR can be a bit of a challenge. If you are extremely restricted on space, the DDRR may very well be a great solution for your station, and so worth the extra effort to build. At first glance, many hams will think that the DDRR is just a halo type of antenna, but if you look closely at the design, there are some very distinct differences. Essentially, a DDRR consists of a loop of tubing mounted above a ground plane. The ground plane can take the form of a solid plate, a mesh screen, or another tube. 2 examples are shown below. If you look closely at the images above, you will see that in both cases, there is a capacitor bridging the end of the driven loop and the ground plane that is used for tuning the twisted wires in the dual loop model is simply a variable capacitor. And you'll also see that the feed end of the driven loop is connected directly to the ground plane, and the feed line is applied to the driven loop through what comes down to being a gamma match. This arrangement allows you to fine-tune the DDRR for the desired frequency. Be aware, however, that while there is some tuning room available, The DDRR is not a multi-band antenna. Don't expect to be able to run the DDRR on more than one band, though you can usually find a good match across the entirety of the band with manual adjustments of the gamma and/or capacitor. At this point, I want to refer you to a great website for building DDRR antennas. James, MD, 0MDI, created a great site to spread info on the DDRR design. You can find his work at md0mdi.com/DDRR-and-antenna- for hypna small hyphen spaces /. If you look at James' table, you'll see that you can build a DDRR for 160M in a plot of land less than 40 feet square. A full-size half-wave dipole would be over 260 feet long. James' site, sadly, tend to be down on a regular basis. But don't fret. Go to feligis.hu/electro/antenna/DDRR.html for a calculator. If you right-click and select Translate, the little bit of text on the page will be changed to English. Note that the frequency must be entered in hertz, 7 megahertz equals 7 million hertz, and use the Count/Sample button to see the various dimensions in meters. Now, it's time to look at a few of the considerations we skated around earlier. I love wire antennas. I really do. But when working with a DDRR, do not use wire for the elements. Using too small of a diameter conductor for the DDRR elements will result in huge ohmic losses in the antenna, and it will fail to perform on transmit. It will probably work okay on receive, but as the ohmic loss approaches and then exceeds the radiation resistance of the elements, transmit performance will fall rapidly. Resist the urge to use wire, and always use a large diameter tube for the elements. Almost any conductive tubing can be used. Aluminum, copper, steel, stainless, whatever you have will do the job. James' tables give some good suggestions for tubing diameters, and those will work well for you. Note that for other than physical strength, the wall thickness of the tubing is not important due to the skin effect, where RF signals travel mostly on the surface or skin of a conductor. It is the need for using tubing that brings us to the second major consideration. You will need some way to work with the tubing. The two biggest issues are that you need to bend the tubing into the proper shape, and you need to make a solid, low-resistance connection to the tubing. Since the diameter of the tubing can be quite large on the lower bands, these problems usually point to some sort of a mandrel bending machine and a welder. Many years ago, I built a DDRR for 7 megahertz using two 2-inch automotive exhaust pipe. I was lucky enough to have a friend who owned an auto repair shop, and I was able to use his mandrel pipe bender and welders. The antenna performed great. With all of that said, it is possible to build a DDRR using straight tubing and elbows to approximate a circle. Using 8 45 degrees elbows with 8 lengths of straight tubing will work. Sort of. Evidence is that such a design will be slightly narrower in bandwidth than a true circle and have slight nulls, 2 dB, at each of the elbows. The last big consideration is that the DDRR develops some very high voltages on the antenna. This means that you must take steps to prevent accidental contact with the antenna by people and animals. Because of its compact size, it's tempting to ground mount the DDRR, and will perform well in that configuration, but you now have a high voltage source in easy reach of people and animals. Be sure to take appropriate steps to ensure safety. Also related to the high voltages on the DDRR antenna is the need to use a high voltage capacitor in the construction. For QRP power, just twisting a pair of wires together will handle the task, while a 1 kV unit will work just fine for 100 watts or less. But for full legal power levels, a 10 kV capacitor will be needed. If you plan to move from one end of the design band to the other, using a variable capacitor is worth considering to make tuning easier than using the gamma match alone. Almost all DDRR antennas are mounted with the driven element loop parallel to the ground. This provides a vertically polarized signal, unity gain, same as a dipole, and a nearly omnidirectional pattern. However, as the original meaning of the DDRR acronym implies, the DDRR is somewhat directional. There's a null in the antenna's radiation pattern in the direction of the gap between the two ends of the driven element. Empirical evidence suggests that the null is about 3 dB down and around 15 degrees wide. Not a huge difference, but enough to notice, and you might want to keep this null in mind when locating and mounting your DDRR. Over the years, there have been a few DDRR designs, some sold commercially for the low VHF bands, and even a small number for UHF. Most have abandoned these bands because VHF/UHF gain antennas are quite small and will outperform the DDRR. The DDRR is a great solution for limited space, or even clandestine antennas for the HF bands. If you have a small area for an antenna, or if you need to hide your antenna for HOA or other concerns, the DDRR might be a great choice for you. In other words, don't dismiss the DDRR antenna because of the possible issues you might encounter in building one. Yes, the DDRR is an antenna designed to solve a particular problem, lack of space, but it does this much better than nearly any other design. The DDRR also makes a good mobile HF antenna. Just mount the driven loop on the roof of the vehicle with the appropriate spacing and use the vehicle roof as a ground plane. Another place where a DDRR will shine is for POTA/SOTA work. The DDRR gives you a physically small, well-performing antenna that will catch the attention of a few non-hams in the park, letting you reach out to them and promote ham radio. Next time on the Antenna Farm, we're going to take a look at a dual band, 6M and 2M, cubical quad beam that is perfect for SSB, CW, digital, and other weak signal modes on the band available to all class license holders. If you know of an antenna construction article on the web, please drop me a note with the pertinent information, and I will look at it for consideration as an article for the Antenna Farm. Take care in 73. Charles, KC6UFM. Page 21. Meet and Greet 2025. It's that time again already. The annual Western New York ECR Meet and Greet is approaching quickly. Join us on June 21st for a gathering of food and friends. Relax and enjoy the beautiful scenery and facility and try to win some door prizes or the 50/50 raffle. It's $15 at the door and kids 12 and under are free. It's open to the public, but RSVP is needed. Simply make your reservation by going to bit.ly/ECRMG25. That's bit.ly/ECRMG25. It's super easy, but if you need help, we'd be glad to help. You're welcome to come alone or bring the family. And just so you don't forget, bit.ly/ECRMG25. Space is limited. Don't delay. 7-3.
Page 22. The text check-in line. Grab a pencil. The ECR has a unique way to get more people on the air. Our nets can be so busy that people have a difficult time getting in. We want to help everyone get on the air, so here it is. 716-317-9050. Text your call sign to 716-317-9050. This will get you onto the log. This is not for ins and outs. It's to help get people on the air and through the pileups. Text your call sign to 716-317-9050.
Page 23. ECR Gift Shop. You can help the East Coast Reflector by visiting our gift shop. We've got shirts, hats, mugs, and plenty of items you can put your call sign on.
Page 24. World Radio History. WorldRadioHistory.com is a large archive of radio publications. Here are a few snippets of one of the magazines.
Page 25. Check out these pictures submitted by Carlos, N1CBM, taken from one of his flights.
Page 26. Randy W2RBC. Readability Signal Tone, RST. Thanks for the 5.9. But what's it mean? The RST system is a standardized code used by amateur radio operators and shortwave listeners to exchange information about the quality of a radio signal. Each signal report using the system is represented by a 2- or 3-digit number, with each digit corresponding to a different characteristic of the received signal. Readability, a single digit 1 to 5, indicates how easily the signal can be understood. A rating of 1 means the signal is unreadable, while 5 means the signal is perfectly readable. The readability digit is used as the first digit for voice and phone signal status. Strength, a single digit 1 to 9, represents the strength of the signal as perceived by the receiver. A rating of 1 indicates a very faint signal, while 9 indicates an extremely strong signal. The strength digit is used as the second digit for voice and phone signal status. Tone, a digit 1 to 9, is used to assess the quality of the transmitted signal's tone, primarily for continuous wave CW transmissions such as Morse code. A rating of 9 denotes a pure, steady tone, while lower numbers indicate issues such as roughness, hum, or chirp. The tone digit is used as the third digit for voice, phone, and CW signal status. The RST system was developed in 1934 by Arthur W. Broughton, a U.S. amateur radio operator with a call sign W2BSR. It was later adopted and used widely, with a system similar to the RST being codified in the International Telecommunication Union (ITU) radio regulations during the Cairo Conference in 1938. Readability, used for voice or phone. 1. Unreadable. 2. Barely readable, occasional words distinguishable. 3. Readable with considerable difficulty. 4. Readable with practically no difficulty. 5. Perfectly readable. Signal strength, used for voice or phone. 1. Faint signals, barely perceptible. 2. Very weak signals. 3. Weak signals. 4. Fair signals. 5. Fairly good signals. 6. Good signals. 7. Moderately strong signals. 8. Strong signals. 9. Extremely strong signals. Tone, used for voice, phone, and CW. 160 cycle AC or less, very rough and broad. 2. Very rough AC, very harsh and broad. 3. Rough AC tone, rectified but not filtered. For rough notes, some trace of filtering. 5. Filtered rectified AC, but strongly ripple modulated. 6. Filtered tone, definite trace of ripple modulation. 7. Near pure tone, a trace of ripple modulation. 8. Near perfect tone, slight trace of modulation. 9. Perfect tone, no trace of ripple or modulation of any kind.
Page 30. Open Mic Net. The ECR has a new one-of-a-kind net. It's an open mic net for net controllers. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. we have multiple guest net controllers. No experience necessary. You don't even need to log. If you're interested in being a net controller on our open mic net, sign up at bit.ly/ECR Open Mic.
Page 31. Connect to ECR. Simply free. No membership. No fees. No prior permissions. Everyone is welcome, and if you have audio issues, we're here to help. Simply free. The way air was meant to be.
Page 32. ECR Gift Shop. You can help the East Coast Reflector by visiting our gift shop. We've got shirts, hats, mugs, and plenty of items you can put your call sign on.
Page 33. The Morning Brew is a light-hearted, fast-paced net. Check in and tell your barista your answer to a simple question to get your morning brain started. Mobile check-ins are given priority. Don't want to deal with the pile-ups? Text your call sign to 716-317-9050 to get on the log.
Page 34. Check out these pictures submitted by Carlos, N1CBM, taken from one of his flights.
Page 35. Wireless Microphone by Harry, SM0VPO. Here is the super-numerical improved frequency modulation wireless microphone, BUG, with added easeability, readability, and copyability. This was necessitated after the number of email questions posed by people who were confused by the layout of the projects. Before proceeding with the interesting bits, please note, there are two different circuits. Build it yourself, with wound coil, etc. Basic. Build on my PCB foil. Coil included on PCB. The only two critical components are tuning capacitor 12P, 6.8P. Feedback capacitor 2P7, 1P8. Both versions of the circuit perform identically. Introduction. This project is a miniature VHF-FM, wideband, wireless microphone transmitter of the type that are commonly referred to as bugs. Note that bugs are illegal, but wideband frequency modulation wireless microphones, WBFM-WMs, are not, as so many people have told me, including the RSGB. Besides, the AF sensitivity of this transmitter prevents it from being an effective bug for eavesdropping. I personally use one of these WBFM-WMs plugged into my HF rig headphone socket so that I can earwig QSOs and nets when sitting on the toilet, washing the dishes, bringing in the coal, etc. I know from experience that this project can be used to stimulate interest in radio in older children, and this was also one of the projects given to a group of Scouts and Girl Guides to construct. Surprisingly, I found the girls made a better job of soldering than the boys. The circuit is very simple and needs no explanation for construction, although the kids needed some guidance when soldering. The tuning coil. The coil version uses a 1/4 4 millimeters diameter coil wound on a drill bit, although the PCB version has the coil fabricated on the PCB itself. A simple piece of insulated wire about 60 centimeters, 2 feet, was fine for the antenna and is connected to a 1-turn tapping of the coil. Use tinned copper wire for the tuning coil and not the enameled wire for kids to build. It is much easier for them to solder the antenna without mashing up the coil whilst trying to remove the enamel. The PCB version is ideal for the kits as there is no coil to wind. See the photographs on this page. Note, since the antenna is coupled directly to the tuned circuit coil, the final frequency of the oscillator will vary if the antenna or the battery is touched. This could make this little circuit seem unstable. This is a normal feature of this type of circuit. To avoid this, you will need to add an antenna buffer/amplifier, but this only adds to the complexity. Not exactly ideal for beginners. See my FM wireless microphone V5 if you need a more stable circuit. Component choices. If you wish to use the FM wireless microphone from the headphone socket of an HF rig, then delete the 4K7 resistor and reverse the 1 UF capacitor. The circuit shown is for an electret condenser microphone. The transmitter may be received by any VHF FM radio, but the pocket radio I use about the house was free with Weetabix box tops a few years ago. The unit should have a range of at least 100 meters, 250 feet, but increase the 220 ohm emitter resistor to 1K to reduce the range. If you think that little Johnny could plant it in you and your wife's bedroom. Here's a table to give you an idea of the performance of the Forget I said that. FM wireless microphone transmitter. Finished mic. For those who would like to see what a finished microphone looks like, here is one ready built. Note that there is no pad for the microphone. The wires are to be fitted across the 1 N0 capacitor. Microphones. The 4K7 resistor feeds the electric condenser microphone with DC, and the internal FET amplifier will develop an AF signal across this resistor. I originally used a 47K resistor here. It worked fine, but many electric microphones require up to 1 milliampere to operate. Reducing the value to 4K7 increases the microphone sensitivity quite a lot. If you want to use a dynamic microphone, then you may omit this resistor completely, although it will do no harm to leave it in circuit. Please note that the audio sensitivity of the microphone is not fantastic, You cannot use it to bug a room. It is intended for you to speak directly into the microphone as you would with any other normal microphone. Do not expect to hear a whisper at 5 meters, 15 feet, because you won't. The microphone sensitivity is quite low. This is normal for this type of circuit, not incorporating a microphone amplifier. A high output type microphone is therefore required. If you need a microphone amplifier, then see my FM wireless microphone V5 for a suitable circuit. Range versus stability. Now we come to the crunch. Everyone wants 5 kilometers range and 100% stability. Well, you know how the old saying goes. You can please all the people most of the time and most of the people all of the time, but you can't please all the people all of the time. Range and stability are mutually exclusive. This circuit is an LC oscillator, which is unstable by definition. If it were not, then you would not be able to modulate it with speech. If you reduce the tapping of the coil, you will improve the stability a lot, but the range will reduce. Here is how you reduce the tapping on the PCB version. Loop the antenna wire back along the board over the link and thread it under the 1N0102 capacitor. With the original values shown, the output power and stability are at the best compromise for a normal domestic FM radio receiver with an AFC function. If the transmitter battery connections are in close contact with some form of ground plane, chassis, telephone line, or a long microphone cable, then stability will become excellent. If the unit is handheld, then it may become almost unusable. Adding an extra antenna wire connected to one of the battery tracks on the PCB will improve this considerably. Getting it working. No difficulty should be experienced by anyone, but if you are using components that are at hand in the junk box, then all resistors may vary from -50% to +200%. All capacitors used for coupling and decoupling may be anything from 470p to 100U. The 1N0 across the microphone may be anything from 270p to 2N2. If it is too large, then the modulation will lack the higher treble frequencies. With the component values given, the BUG wireless microphone will operate at about 106 MHz. Increasing the tuning capacitor 12p, 6.8p will lower the frequency. With the PCB version, you will have no difficulty finding the BUG wireless microphone carrier frequency on a domestic FM radio set. It will be at about 106 MHz. If, however, you cannot find the carrier, then check the battery supply current and compare it with the table above. If the current is not approximately as listed, then check your wiring for shorts, broken tracks, and solder blobs. Touch the coil with your finger and watch the battery supply current. If it changes, then the BUG is oscillating okay. If not, then check your wiring and check for short circuits, broken tracks, or solder blobs. Try to find it again, but put the radio and BUG in a metal box, bucket, cupboard, filing cabinet, etc. It could be that a strong local FM station is hiding it. Not PCB version. Adjust the coil size a little and try again. And finally, incidentally, this little transmitter works well on 10 meters FM with a lower and quite acceptable deviation. The coil is 14 turns with a ferrite slug tuning, and the tuning and feedback capacitors increased by a factor of 3. Take care with the positioning of the tuning coil, as this will alter the frequency. It should not be possible for a user to touch the coil. In the FM version, this is of no consequence. This unit can also be used to an electric guitar, and your FM radio/stereo becomes a guitar amplifier. Message board. Very best regards from Harry Lythal, SM0VPO, Marsta, Sweden, SM0vpo.com. Page 43. Hey, hams, the ECR is at it again. You matter. Stop by our ECR Ham Town Hall meeting. Hear announcements and learn about new events. Offer suggestions, or find ways to help. We didn't get this big by thinking of ourselves. We did it by thinking of you. Stop in and help us get to know you. It's the second Thursday of each month in the ECR Zoom room. That's 8 p.m. Eastern at bit.ly/ECR Daily.
Page 44. Connections. There are many ways to connect to ECR. For a printable list, go to bit.ly/ECR Connect. There, you will find the information to connect via ADN, DMR, DV switch, Echolink, Hamshack Hotline, Hams over IP, IRLP, and Yaesu Fusion.
Page 45. The YouthNet. Join our YouthNet controllers every Friday night. Support the future of ham radio. Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Page 46. ECR user submitted pictures.
Page 47. Southtowns Amateur Radio Society. Stars: Michael Fetto, KB2FX. The Southtowns Amateur Radio Society, STARS, is an amateur radio club of approximately 60 members. Based out of Hamburg, New York, which is located 15 miles south of Buffalo, New York. The membership is very diverse in its technical and operational interests, ranging from HF contesting to VHF/UHF public service communications for local events. Highlights of club activities include Field Day, New York QSO and other contests, weekly HF nets on Saturday mornings, VHF/UHF nets on Tuesday evenings, amateur radio technology presentations, NB examinations. The clubhouse base station is located at the Lakeview Recreational Complex in the town of Hamburg. The Nike base. It contains the main repeater site, 80-foot tower and 3 HF stations driving Moseley beam, multiband N-Fed and 18 160-meter dipole HF antennas. The repeater system. The WB2ELW repeater system is a commercial-grade VHF/UHF repeater network with an RF footprint that covers much of western New York. The Pi-based All-Star Node 56696 enables Wide Area Network (WAN) connectivity to the All-Star network. Connection to the East Coast Reflector system currently is Monday through Friday, 0700 to 0900 to carry the morning brew. Future connection times are forthcoming. System details. The Nike base houses the main UHF repeater system, which provides UHF coverage throughout Erie County and along the Lake Erie and Niagara River shorelines up to Niagara Falls. It is connected via link radio to the VHF repeater system. The VHF repeater system is located at the WIVB TV transmitter site in Colden, New York. The VHF coverage encompasses Erie and Niagara counties, as well as Ontario, California, including the city of Toronto across Lake Ontario. Both systems combined cover much of western New York and southern Ontario. System block diagram. The Nike base station, Hamburg, New York. All-Star, 56696. Nike base Hamburg, New York. 442, 337.325 MHz. PL 88.5. WIVB. Colden, New York. 147.090 147.690 PL 107.2.
Page 52. Calendar. All times are Eastern. The following events are on the Reflector. For connection information, go to bit.ly/ECRConnect. Check out the Morning Brew Net on your way to work. Weekdays from 7 to 9 a.m. It can be pretty fast-paced. If you like a slower, more ragshoe net, stick around on Fridays for the second cup at 9 a.m. Have a technical question? Stop by the Tech Net Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. to ask your questions or offer your advice. Friday nights at 8 p.m., show your support by checking into the Youth Net. On Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., check out a new type of net, open mic night for net controllers. If you'd like to give it a try, go to bit.ly/ECR Open Mic. On Sundays, listen to Amateur Radio Newsline at 1 p.m. and again on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. We've also got HF nets. On Thursdays at 10 a.m., join the 20-meter net on 14.317. And on Saturday mornings, join us for the 40-meter net at 9 a.m. on 7.245. On Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, you've got to check out the Trivia Net. Everyone gets their own multiple-choice question. It's a lot of fun. For the following events, stop by the ECR Zoom room at bit.ly/ECR Daily. Every day at 3:30 p.m. stop by for advice or just casual conversation. On the first and third Thursdays at 8 p.m. Check out the Ask an Elmer Zoom room for people to seek information and get answers with the utmost respect, or to offer help to hams, or you can just stop by and listen. On the second Thursdays of the month, come in and be a part of our town hall meeting.
Page 53. There's a great audio tool on the website at eastcoastreflector.com. Now we have a second audio feed. One has a 2.5-minute delay, and the second is real time. If you need an audio check, to hear what your audio sounds like, load up Listen Live on the website, pick up your radio, give your call sign, and say this is an audio test. No response necessary. Still stumped? Come into our Zoom room for advice at bit.ly/ECR Daily.
Page 54. Ask an Elmer and be an Elmer. Join us on the first and third Thursday of each month. Come in and ask for help and get respectable answers from a family-friendly environment. If you don't have any questions, just come on in to watch and listen.
Page 55. The Trivia Net is a fun, unique net. Check into the net and you'll be asked a multiple choice question when it's your turn. Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern. Page 57. Celebrity Call Sign. Marlon Brando, actor. By KB2TFB. Our celebrity was born on April 3, 1924 in Omaha, Nebraska. The last of 3 children. He had 2 sisters, Jocelyn and Frances. When he was 6, the family moved to Evanston, Illinois, where he mimicked other people and developed a reputation for pranking. In fact, our celebrity was expelled from Libertyville High School in Libertyville, Illinois. He only excelled at sports and drama and failed everything else. He was sent to Shattuck Military Academy in Faribault, Minnesota, where his father had also studied. That didn't work out well either, because he almost got expelled from there too, but subsequently decided to drop out. Our celebrity then worked as a ditch digger at a summer job arranged by his father. He tried to enlist in the Army, but a routine physical revealed that a football injury, which he sustained at the academy, left him physically unfit for military service. During his acting career, our celebrity earned a reputation as a bad boy for his public outbursts and antics. According to the magazine Los Angeles, he was rock and roll before anybody knew what rock and roll was. His behavior during the filming of Mutiny on the Bounty seemed to bolster his reputation as a difficult star. He was blamed for a change in director and a runaway budget, though he denied responsibility for both. On June 12, 1973, he broke the jaw of a paparazzo who followed him after leaving a taping of the Dick Cavett Show in New York City. While acting in Mutiny on the Bounty, the sights and people of Tahiti inspired our celebrity to buy a 12-island atoll on which he built his home and a resort. Unfortunately, a hurricane destroyed much of what he had built in 1983. These are just a few of the things mentioned about our celebrity on Wikipedia. There are 2 call signs this week. The first, KE6PZH, was issued to his pseudonym, Martin Brando's, which he used to preserve his privacy. In Tahiti, his call was FO5GJ, belonging to Marlon Brando. On July 1, 2004, at the age of 80, Brando became a silent key due to pulmonary fibrosis with congestive heart failure at the UCLA Medical Center. Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie I with Brando in the film set of Desiree, Princess Sebeldesta. The primary source for this week's CC-SOT-W is the English-language Wikipedia, and is therefore subject to the Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 4.0 license.
Page 60. Birthday call sign word search. Try the birthday call sign word search puzzle. Click on the magazine page and solve it online or to print it. If you'd like to be added to our birthday list, go to bit.ly/ECRBirthday.
Page 61. The ECR also has HF nets. Check into the 20-meter net on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. or the 40-meter net on Saturday mornings at 9.
Page 62. User-submitted pictures. Submit your pictures to editor@ecr@gmail.com. Or you can post them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/W2ECR.
Page 63. Celebrity Call Sign. By KB2TFB. Joe Rudy and K7U. The Oakland A's. Our celebrity was born on September 7, 1946 in Modesto, California. He has an older sister, June, and a younger brother, Paul. He finished his high school studies at Downey High in Modesto, where he wrestled and played football and baseball. Sadly, his father did not share Joe's love of baseball, stating, "In Norway, young men worked hard learning to be shipbuilders or fishermen or engineers and didn't waste time fooling with bats and balls." Well, it turns out he was really great at baseball, playing left field for the Oakland A's from 1967 to 1982, including consecutive World Series wins from 1972 through 1974. Joe Rudy also played for the California Angels and Boston Red Sox. And of course, he has also participated in amateur radio with the call sign K7U. Some sources say he is an avid contester. The primary source of information for this week's celebrity call sign is the Society for American Baseball Research at SABR.org.
Page 64. Click on the page to put together a picture of the actual Greyline taken by pilot Carlos, N1CBM.
Page 65. Want to see where you are on the log? Go to bit.ly/ECR logs to get access to view all of the net logs.
Page 66. Be a contributor. Want to help contribute to the magazine? Send in your article, project, story, comment, and suggestions to editor@ecr@gmail.com. You don't have to be a good writer if you have a good story. Everything will be published and sent to you before it's published.
Page 67. Comics. So what else do hams do? Eat. I mean for fun. Eat. We eat.
Page 68. You should know. The East Coast Reflector and its Reflector Magazine is all volunteer run. We charge nothing to use the system. We charge nothing to subscribe to the magazine. The system has hundreds of users connected at any given time. We incur a lot of expenses to maintain such a large system. If you use the system or enjoy the magazine, please consider helping by contributing to the system by going to eastcoastreflector.com and click on Donate. Your contribution is greatly appreciated.
Page 69. Nets. There's something going on every day, but still plenty of time to write chew.
Page 70. Net questions. Here's a list of most of our net questions. Ever wonder how your answer compares? Click the question to see the results. There's questions from the Morning Brew, the Tech Net, Trivia Net, and Youth Net, and even the HF Nets.
Page 72. NOAA Weather Broadcasting Frequencies. NWR broadcasts National Weather Service warnings, watches, forecasts, and other non-weather-related hazard information 24 hours a day. Channels WX1 through WX7 are used in the US and Canada. Channels WX8 and WX9 are used for Canada marine weather broadcasts in some areas. These channels should be programmed as wideband FM receive only. Some radio manufacturers number the US weather channels in the order they came into use, others number them in frequency order. For programming in land mobile radios, frequency order is recommended.
Page 73. Please pray for Cindy, wife of Charles, KC6UFM. KC9T. EW. Jeff, who battled cancer with his head held high. KB2UDB Mike and his wife Deborah. KC4BB George Billy, Broadway. Silent Keys. V2OJ Amity of Canada. W9MCU Stephen of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. N2DAY, Ray of Depew, New York. N6VFU, Rick of Grants, Michigan. Please keep these people and their families in your prayers to give them the strength, encouragement, comfort, and peace of mind and heart they need, and have a brief moment of silence.
Page 74. Links. Here are a list of useful links including subscribe free to the Reflector Magazine, Repeater Map, how to make your email public on QRZ, and how to fix your prolific drivers. Facilitators, in no particular order. WB2JPQ Dick, the founding father. Or should I say godfather of the ECR. He does everything. KB2SNM Bob. He's been around since the beginning of the ECR. He's known as the junkyard dog. He's right on top of any issues to ensure that people don't get out of line and ensure family-friendly airwaves. KB5GLC Kanan, a vital part of the ECR and one of its data centers. He's a much appreciated part of the team. K4FXC David, Hamvoip himself, an essential part of the ECR, also as its data center. KE7K Kevin, with over 16,000 users, Kevin maintains our database, sets up amateur radio news line to be played over ECR, announcements, and many other things including the TechNet. KO4FRR Joe. Joe is the man who makes the text line possible. He's also the webmaster and computer guy. You can meet him at Orlando Hamcation or at the ECR meet and greets, and even as a guest net controller on the Open Mic Net. W2RBC Randy. He's one of the magazine authors, heads our groups.io. You'll also find him on our HF Nets, our Ask an Elmer, and town hall meetings. He's always a good resource of information and always willing to help. K2CMT Mike, the infamous Morning Brew Net controller. Without him, the Morning Brew probably would have never developed. Mike has the Kentucky ability to turn a 4-syllable word into one. KD2VNU, Dan is the Youth Net director. You'll find him behind the scenes during the Youth Net helping the kids to make the magic happen. W2KJV Tony, our YouTube man. He takes the pictures you send in and puts them into a video for everyone to see. K8BAC Al. Al is a net controller of the Morning Brew and of our 40-meter net. He's a recent, very welcomed addition to our team. N2BH Bill. Bill is a net controller for the Morning Brew, and he's a great help at ECR events and hamfests. W2PUT Dan. Dan is both one of the newest and oldest facilitators on the ECR team. He helped to start the ECR and has recently had time to return and help out on the Ask an Elmer, as well as write a few magazine articles and help out at ECR events and hamfests. KE8VKY Vicky. Vicky is the editor of the ECR. Made and maintains the logs with the help of KE7K and can usually be found on the net's logging. She's also ECR's first amateur of the year. VE3BZ Kevin. Canada Kevin. He's our nighttime security guard. He takes care of the system while the rest of us sleep. You'll also find him once in a while logging for Alex, W7FTM, on the Trivia Net. We'd also like to mention some of our other contributors. W2BLT Scott. Morning Brew Net Coordinator and Net Controller. KE0GKF Jeff. Morning Brew Net Controller. W7FTM Alex. Trivia Net Controller and Creator. KO4QMM Roger. 20-meter net controller and sometimes the Tech Net. And our Youth Net Controllers. KD2YHZ Luca. KG4BUT Grayson. KD2YFO Aiden. And last but not least, KE2EGF Ivan.
Thank you for listening to the Reflector Magazine. If you'd like to subscribe, go to bit.ly/ECR subscribe and enter your email. Disclaimer. The content, opinions, and views expressed in this magazine are those of the authors and contributors and do not necessarily reflect the opinions or views of the publisher, editorial team, or affiliated organizations, or anyone else. All articles, images, and information provided are for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. The publisher, ECR, and its volunteers assume no responsibility for errors or omissions in the content provided. Readers are encouraged to verify all information independently. The use of trademarks, logos, and brand names does not imply endorsement. Reproduction or redistribution of any content in this magazine, in whole or in part, without prior written consent from the publisher, is strictly prohibited. For inquiries or permissions, please contact Vicky, KE8VKY at KE8VKY@gmail.com.